The script choices that held Seçkin Özdemir back. In the television industry, actors do not fail alone. Scripts fail with them. Even the most talented performer cannot survive weak writing, unclear direction, or shallow storytelling. Television is a collaborative medium where every component, writing, directing, acting, editing, and production, must work together. If one element collapses, the entire structure becomes unstable. For actors, the script is the foundation of everything. It determines the character's emotional depth. It shapes the rhythm of the story. And it defines how audiences connect with the narrative. Over the years, Seçkin Özdemir repeatedly became part of projects that looked promising at first glance. The premises seemed interesting. The characters appeared complex. The initial episodes suggested dramatic potential. But as these series progressed, something important began to weaken. The scripts themselves. Promising concepts gradually turned into repetitive storytelling. Character arcs became unclear, and narrative tension slowly disappeared. This video examines how inconsistent script selection became one of the most damaging patterns in Seçkin Özdemir's career. Not because he lacked intelligence. Not because he lacked professional instincts. But because strong writing never followed him consistently. In television, even disciplined actors depend heavily on the strength of the material they are given. When the writing collapses, performances alone cannot rescue a project. Section 1. The illusion of good scripts. Many television projects begin with strong ideas. Producers present exciting concepts. Writers introduce dramatic setups. And the first episodes create the illusion of a powerful story. This illusion is common in the television industry. Early episodes are often carefully designed to attract viewers quickly. They contain high emotional stakes, intense conflicts, and intriguing mysteries. However, sustaining that energy over an entire season requires careful planning. A strong script must evolve continuously. Characters must grow. Conflicts must deepen. Narratives must reward the audience's patience. In several projects involving Seçkin Özdemir, the opening episodes created genuine promise. But as the story progressed, that promise began to weaken. Dialogue became repetitive. Conflicts lost urgency. Plot developments became predictable. Instead of building complexity, the story often circled around the same emotional beats. This disconnect between a strong beginning and a weak continuation gradually damaged audience confidence. Viewers may forgive a slow start. But they rarely forgive a story that loses direction. Section 2. Weak character arcs. One of the most critical elements of television storytelling is character evolution. Audiences do not simply watch events unfold. They watch people change. Characters must grow, struggle, transform, and confront their own contradictions. This journey keeps viewers emotionally invested. When a character remains static for too long, interest begins to fade. Several roles portrayed by Seçkin Özdemir began with strong characterization. The characters were intelligent, disciplined, and morally grounded. But many of them lacked meaningful evolution as the series progressed. Their motivations remained similar. Their emotional states rarely shifted dramatically. And their internal conflicts were not explored deeply enough. This created a difficult situation for the actor. Even the most capable performer cannot invent character growth that does not exist in the script. Actors interpret what is written. They cannot replace missing narrative structure. As a result, strong performances sometimes appeared trapped inside stagnant character arcs. The audience saw effort, but they did not always see transformation. Section 3. Dialogue quality issues. Dialogue is the lifeblood of television drama. It is the primary tool through which characters express emotions, conflicts, and relationships. Powerful dialogue creates unforgettable scenes. It reveals hidden tensions. It allows actors to explore emotional complexity. However, several scripts associated with Seçkin Özdemir relied heavily on exposition. Instead of showing conflict through action and emotion, characters often explained situations verbally. Important events were described rather than experienced. Conversations became informational rather than dramatic. This style of writing reduces emotional intensity. Actors are forced to deliver explanations instead of expressing genuine emotional confrontation. As a result, scenes may feel technically correct but emotionally restrained. For performers like Seçkin Özdemir, who often rely on controlled and subtle acting styles, this limitation becomes even more noticeable. Without strong dialogue, even talented actors struggle to create memorable moments. Section 4. Genre confusion. Another recurring problem in some of these projects was genre instability. Successful television series usually establish a clear narrative identity early. They define whether they are romantic dramas, psychological thrillers, family sagas, or social commentaries. This clarity helps audiences understand what emotional experience the show offers. However, several series involving Seçkin Özdemir struggled to maintain a consistent genre identity. Episodes sometimes shifted between romantic storytelling, suspense elements, and social drama. These transitions were not always smoothly integrated. As a result, the narrative tone became unstable. When viewers cannot clearly identify the genre of a show, emotional engagement becomes more difficult. They do not know what to expect from the story. They cannot anticipate the emotional rhythm of future episodes. This confusion weakens long-term audience loyalty. Actors within such projects often carry the burden of maintaining coherence through performance. But even strong performances cannot fully compensate for unclear storytelling direction. Section 5. Mid-season collapse. One of the most visible signs of weak script planning is the mid-season collapse. This phenomenon occurs when a series begins strongly but gradually loses narrative momentum. Storylines stretch unnecessarily. Conflicts repeat themselves. Episodes become slower and less focused. This pattern appeared in several projects involving Seçkin Özdemir. After an engaging start, the narrative began to stagnate. Instead of introducing new dramatic layers, the script recycled existing conflicts. Characters repeated the same emotional dilemmas. The pacing slowed noticeably. Audiences are extremely sensitive to these changes. They quickly detect when a story begins to stall. Once viewers start abandoning a series, ratings decline rapidly. And once ratings collapse mid-season, recovery becomes extremely difficult. Section 6. Actor versus writer power dynamics. In the television hierarchy, actors do not always control creative decisions. Only a small number of top-tier stars possess significant influence over scripts. These actors can request changes, shape character arcs, or influence narrative direction. Most performers, however, operate within a different structure. They receive scripts, they interpret them, and they perform according to the creative decisions made by writers and producers. Throughout much of his career, Seçkin Özdemir did not operate with the creative power enjoyed by industry superstars. His role was primarily that of an executor rather than a decision-maker. This structural limitation made him vulnerable to inconsistent writing quality. If the script was strong, his performance could flourish. But if the script weakened, his ability to correct the narrative direction remained limited. Section 7. Audience trust erosion. Television audiences develop memory patterns. They remember which shows rewarded their time and emotional investment. When viewers repeatedly experience disappointing storylines, their trust gradually erodes. This erosion rarely happens suddenly. It develops slowly. Viewers begin approaching new projects with caution. They hesitate before committing to another long-running series. In the case of Seçkin Özdemir, repeated involvement in unevenly written shows gradually influenced audience expectations. Some viewers became cautious, not because they disliked the actor, but because previous narratives had failed to satisfy them. This subtle shift in audience perception can affect long-term ratings potential. Trust, once weakened, takes time to rebuild. Conclusion. Seçkin Özdemir's career illustrates a fundamental truth of television. Good acting alone cannot compensate for weak writing. Script selection shapes the long-term trajectory of an actor's career. Repeated participation in underdeveloped narratives gradually limits audience enthusiasm. Even disciplined performers struggle when the foundation of the story becomes unstable. In the end, television success depends on a powerful collaboration between writing and performance. When that balance fails, even talented actors face difficult outcomes.